Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to take a moment to discuss Path of Exile 2 in its current state because you may have noticed that I haven't been making content for this game. There's a few different reasons for that, and I want to be fair about how I talk about this because part of it is real world related and part of it is the game. Let me talk about the real world stuff really quick first because that is a big part of why I have some issues. First and foremost, I recently moved to Catalina on a boat, and I'm kind of limited in my power usage, so I'm having to kind of pick and choose what games I make content for because I can't leave my computer running all day. I do have solar, but I really need to expand my solar setup quite a lot before I'm able to run my computer all day and still have my batteries charging to a reasonable degree. So that is a part of what's going on. And then, I'm just kind of busy with trying to do projects around the boat to get things kind of fixed up and ready in the way that they're supposed to be. And there's just a lot of running around back and forth to the island and stuff because I'm helping my wife out with some things and all that kind of stuff. So there's some real world scheduling conflicts that are part of it. But that's not really the focus of the video today. The focus of the video today is that I'm bored. And that's kind of really the crux of it because up until this point, the game has kind of held my attention because we were actually getting, I don't know about new, yeah, I guess kind of new content. But the real issue that I'm having with the game right now is that the only thing we really got from a, cool content perspective, at least in my opinion, was the Druid. But I find that by the time I get to Act 3, the Druid is more or less in the form that it's going to be in for the rest of the game, and I'm already kind of bored with it. I've tried two different iterations of the Druid. I started out with the Shapeshifter Druid doing like a werebear kind of thing, or the bear build or whatever. Kind of trying to mess around with that. And I started finding that I was having survivability issues by the time I got to Act 3. So I kind of started over with the build and did the plant build that a lot of people are using. And that was kind of easy mode. And I got bored with it really quick. So I started over again, trying to go back with a different build that's like a werebear build. That kind of did something between both the wolf form and the bear form. And, that was a little bit more fun, but I don't know. There's something about the way the Druid is put together right now where you're having to choose between super easy mode with the plant build and basically having something where you're never using your shapeshifter ability, which, kind of one of the selling points of the Druid is to be able to turn into cool animals. And if you're choosing the plant build, you're never doing that. Not really. And if you want to do the animal builds, it's cool because you're able to do combo-based attacks and things like that, which actually, with this particular character, is really fun for about 5 minutes. And then you start running into survivability issues again, which you can supplement by upgrading your gear and everything, but there's just, I don't know, there's a missing X factor that makes playing the shapeshifter builds just feel kind of awkward and not satisfying a lot of the time. I think if they upgraded the build to, if they upgraded the base level of the Druid shapeshifter abilities to where, say, the bear build has a little bit more power in its AoE stuff, where you can leap in as the werewolf to kind of jump into the fray and then slam down with your bear, and it does a little bit more base damage without having to worry about your weapons so much. And there's some survivability issues that I've been having some issues with. I don't know. I'm having a hard time really putting my finger on what the issue is, but I find myself getting really bored with both sides of the build and for both sides of the Druid, and for different reasons. When you switch over to the Thunderstorm plant build, it kind of just erases everything, and you don't feel like you're it feels too easy, and B, it doesn't utilize the shapeshifter side. You just feel like another spellcaster, and that kind of sucks. And when you're using the shapeshifter side, it's much more active and engaging, and it's fun in its way, but the survivability issues you start experiencing as you get later into the campaign, it's just, I don't know. I feel squishy, and I don't like feeling super squishy. When you're especially when you're doing like a melee build that the shape-shifting builds all are. It needs to be much more tanky than it is, and I don't like that my ability to be tanky is heavily dependent on You know, you have to have the specific gear that you're supposed to have. It's like, through the campaign, I kind of just want to enjoy the build, and then as we start getting into the Uber stuff, then I want to have to start worrying about, oh, I need to make sure I have my gear all dialed in. When you're getting to Act 3 and you're still having to like fudge around with gear to make the build work, I don't know. I don't feel like that's the right way to do it. I really don't feel like that's the right way to do it. So that's the part with the druid, but I think that's part of it. That's like, as far as the game goes, that's the first half of my issue. I think probably the biggest reason, though, I could probably suck all of that up, but I think the biggest reason, though, is we didn't get any new content with this patch. Not really. I mean, yeah, they came out with a new league, but I'm not really interested in temple building. That's just not my cup of tea. So the league that they introduced is just... it doesn't really add anything new for me. We didn't get any new campaign-related stuff. We didn't get any real end-game related stuff that I read about. I mean, I haven't even really got to the end game, so I can't really speak intelligently on that, but my understanding is the end game is still the end game from the previous patch. There's nothing really new with it. And it's just, I don't feel like we got any real meaningful updates as far as the game goes. Yeah, we got a new class, but that class has a bunch of issues with it where it's too far in the extremes, and there's no nice sweet spot where you can find a way to make the build, to make a shapeshifter build that feels really comfortable. Yeah, if you earn enough money to where you can buy the gear that you need to buy, but I don't really want to have to rely on that. I want the class itself to be solid, and you only really need the gear once you get up into like the end game and Uber stuff. Like, they really need to rebalance the game so that the campaign is just basically learning your character, not having to worry about gear and resistances and all that bullshit along the way. You're learning your character all the way through the acts, and then once you get to the map, once you start getting to waystones and maps and all that stuff at the end, then you really should have to start focusing on gear and stuff like that. I know that's not necessarily the most popular opinion, but that's how I feel about it. So it's just a combination of the druid not having the kind of impact that I was hoping it was going to have, that a lot of people were hyping it up to say that it was going to have, and then, you know, we didn't get anything new, and I'm not really interested in going through acts 1 through 4 and then the interlude acts again, because I already did that a bunch of times in the last one. And that's just kind of where I am right now when it comes to Path of Exile 2. It's like, I think I'm really waiting for Act 5 at this point, because I really want some new story elements, and we didn't get any of that. We didn't get any this time around. So that's kind of where I am. I don't really expect to make content until we get another patch, and, you know, my boat situation kind of settles out a little bit. I really need to get some more... some more energy management stuff set up before I can really start getting heavy into gaming again. But for now, that's kind of where I am. So I just want to do a quick little video for those of you who actually watch my Path of Exile 2 content. I don't expect to be making a lot. And the other issue is that my internet right now is not necessarily the best. Like, right now it's fine, but we get cruise ships that come in here, or we get lots of guests that come in onto the island, and they're using the one cell phone tower that we have, and they're eating up all the data, and I'm on a mobile internet connection. So I also kind of need, like Starlink or something like that before my internet connection is also stable enough to be able to reliably use this. So a few different factors kind of making things a little bit difficult. Anyways, a long rambling video to say that the druid is kind of like, for me. There's no new content, and I have a bunch of real-world things kind of going on that makes making content for this game not necessarily the most feasible thing in the world. So, quick little video to update you guys on that. I am trying to keep my channel going, but it's kind of hard to focus on that when I have so many other things going on in the real world. And, you know, to be perfectly honest with you, for those of you who hate this particular topic, this is not my job. It's not paying me enough to really focus on it, so... you know, it kind of is what it is. So thank you very much for your time. Be sure to come back for whatever our next video is, and I'll see you for the next one.